New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello and welcome to Global Focus today. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sharri Johnson, and we have with us again, I promised you she'd be back, and here she is, our wonderful Reverend Renee Leboa.
Hi.
Coolest people you'll ever hope to meet. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her just in case you weren't here last time or you forgot. She was the spiritual leader of a New Thought Center for 12 years. She's been teaching and speaking about the power of mind for over 30 years. And she brings her lived experience. And I think every focus minister we have does this. And it's what makes it real. She brings her lived experience of dual recovery, mental health, and new thought principles to the forefront of her message. She's passionate about human potential, and she has proven personally that we can all completely change the narrative of our lives through mental discipline and dedication. She has just recently received her master's in spiritual studies and is working on her doctorate in consciousness studies. And she says this is just the beginning of her journey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming back.
Hi, I love you. I love coming back. You're amazing. I just love it. Yeah. So what's going on?
Well, you've got some. I always ask my guests to send me a bio, and there are some phrases in here that I'm real curious about.
Okay.
I volunteer at the museum, the National Museum of Toys and Miniatures, which is here in Kansas City, and we do something called pop-ups, which are a lot of fun. But I'm pretty sure they're not what spiritual pop-ups are, and I want to know what the spiritual analog of pop-ups is.
Well, it's something I kind of came up with. When I left the church, I still wanted to teach. I still wanted to speak, and to find a place was kind of not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to rent another brick and mortar. And so I thought, well, I know people want to hear this. Not a lot of people want to come out. And I thought, I want to do it almost like not a cocktail party, but a potluck, to where somebody, let's say it's you, and you say, you know what? I want to have some friends over, and then I want to have Reverend Renee come, and we're going to ask questions, or she's going to talk, or she's going to teach something. It's more like just a real natural gathering. So the idea was they were going to pop up all over wherever they were, and people would come, and we do a potluck, and we talk about spirituality, and we talk about consciousness.
So you're a spiritual Tupperware lady.
Yes.
I love it. That is so cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so that's kind of where it started, and it's kind of grown, and we've got we call them the spiritual. So one woman called it the spiritual cocktail party, and there were cocktails involved, and the questions got really feisty after people had a few
cocktails.
Yes. Yeah, that's what that is.
I love it.
Feel free to steal it.
So, you're working on the doctorate, but you got a lot of attention with the work that you did for your master's thesis. So, you want to just explain about that a little bit?
I did.
It's fascinating.
It's kind of shocking. They said, here's your write a paper, and I want to tell us about you. Tell us about your spiritual journey. And I thought, well, okay. And so I decided to write it all out and to write it from the beginning. It ended up being about 70 pages. And I had wanted to write a memoir for a long, long time, but not like a self-help, not like a typical, like, like there's so many spiritual books out there, which are wonderful. I wanted it to be more like okay, so cautionary tale. I did this, and here's the steps that I took to get myself out of that hole. And, giving permission for people to be vulnerable, and, we're not from where we come. So I wrote this paper, and I put some pretty intense details in there about my past and things that had happened, and some things that had happened during ministry, and my mental health journey. And it got a lot of attention through the Emerson Institute, and they wanted me to start talking about it more and to find a platform for that, because they said, well, ministers need to know this story, people need to know this story, and they need to know what's possible. And I said, okay. So that's kind of where that came from. And I'm not really sure how it's going to web out, but there's definitely some interest in me talking about it more. So do a show.
That sounds to me like a book looking for a place to happen.
Mm-hmm. I thought about that, and it was really cathartic writing about everything. Very cathartic, and it feels kind of like when you take the ghost out of the closet, it's not as big as you remembered it to be.
Like the little girl named Boo in the Monsters Inc.
Yes, exactly.
When she came out from under the bed, and I'm laughing because the first line of my doctoral thesis is, it all started when I was 4 years old and I learned how to read.
Oh, see,
that's what happens, when you're doing something that's that big a piece of your life, then a big piece of your life has to be part of it.
Yes, absolutely. So that's kind of what happened. And I feel really inspired to take this message and to take my, good night. I mean, I lived through all this kind of stuff that, it has to be for a reason. It has to be for a reason.
Now, I'm gonna stick my nose in here. I'm taking off my interviewer hat and I'm putting on my grandma hat, because you're talking about a project for women who find themselves starting over in midlife. Do you know Laura Topper?
No.
Laura Topper is a Science of Mind minister in Great Britain. One of my colleagues and prayer partners. She's been on my show and I've been on her show. His whole focus is on midlife women. So I think y'all need to get together, and after we're done here, I'll give you her contact information.
I love that. See how this works.
Because she's starting a TV station for midlife women, master classes and stuff like that. And it sounds to me like a perfect fit. So we'll just need to do that. Okay. So this is your story workshops. What's that? That sounds dangerous.
Actually, it takes being brave to stand up to tell your story, which you saw me do a little bit at the conference. And so to tell your story is really empowering. And what I mean by that is that, I had people come up to me at the conference and say, oh my God, thank you for sharing that. It gives me hope and it gives me power. Can I talk to you further about my journey? And so this is my story, is about us coming to the precipice of change and reframing the story as not just something that happened and it was very negative and traumatic, but about something that's going to pull us forward, something that we can use to stand as the hero in our own lives. Right. And obviously I'm going to use metaphysical principles.
Well, yeah. Duh.
It's a safe environment. It's not one to where you're, here, tell us everything about you. It's a kind of a process to where you end up feeling really safe to share your story.
So might that be one of the aspects of helping women find themselves starting over in midlife? I mean,
I would say absolutely. And what I'm doing is the work that I'm doing is really based on what I went through and the struggles I had and how I did not find resources for who I was and what I was going through. And so a lot of this work that I'm doing is based on my personal journey and recovery, mentally, spiritually, physically. And it has really empowered me. And I thought, well, if I'm going through it, there's someone else who's going through it. So these programs that I'm putting together are based on us not feeling like, well, that's it. That's it. Where do I go now? Because that was the question I asked.
Yeah. So I understand this is not your first interview or your only interview platform. You've been doing interviews plural.
Well, yeah, what's with that? That's really neat. I've got people asking me to just, I've started talking about what's going on, and I have other shows that want me to talk and to share my lived experience. And I think it's fantastic, spread the word, I think that's how it happens is I start talking here, there, and everywhere. And the message, like you just told me about this woman, Laura Copper. See? Yeah.
Reverend Dr. Laura Topper.
Reverend. I love that. Yeah. So New Thought Media Network, big exclamation point. You guys are great.
So a question just came into my house. Oh, I know what it was. This is your story workshops and the spiritual pop-ups and spiritual and personal mentoring and counseling sessions. Those things are, each one of them, massive. All of them together, phenomenal. How does somebody get in touch with you to participate in that?
Well, right now I am currently working on my website, and it's harder than I thought just because I'm trying to put too much in it, but I'm working on my website right now. People can, they can email me and
we got your email on a banner, don't we? Hold on. Let me look. I'm pretty sure we put your email on a banner. Yep. There it is.
There it is.
Oops. We both hit it at the same time. There you go. Renee Leboa 01. That's 01. Not OL.
Yes, 01. You know why?
Yeah.
There's only one of me.
Because there's only one of you. That's right. You are, in fact, unique in every way, shape, and form.
Oh, thanks.
So, how does your upbringing affect the work that you do? Yeah, we call it upbringing, but it's really personal evolution. And so, what has come out of that, and how?
Well, I kind of like to ask the question, what comes first? Trauma, mental health challenges, bad childhood, things that happen. Well, so for me, I like to see that every person has a purpose, and you can take what happened to you and turn it into something positive. It becomes your strength. It becomes your power, your personal power. And so that's how mine has definitely influenced me in moving through becoming a metaphysical teacher. I wanted to show that just because that happened, that's not who I was. At the core of my being, I was a divine expression, and I had forgotten that. And so my childhood really was a foundation for me to springboard off of. Gave me direction.
I've often said that my personal belief is that babies are born knowing everything there is to know because they are born without having yet established that illusionary boundary between their mind and the mind of God. And so they are aware that they have instantaneous and total access to all wisdom, all inspiration, all guidance, all imagination. And then as we raise them up, we pile all kinds of crap on the outside of that, and they forget.
Yep.
And if you're really lucky, when you're in your mid to late 20s, you figure it out that that's what's happening. You spend the rest of your life peeling all of that gunk off to get back to the perfection that you knew was already there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's how do you tact has never been numbered amongst my attributes. How do you go about facilitating that kind of personal evolution for another person?
Well, we talked about it a minute ago, is the story. I want to know where, I like to know about people and where they come from. And so we talk about that. And I don't know a person on a planet that does not have some kind of a trauma in their background. And so we talk about that. And then instead of talking about where you come from and continuing to throw that in the room in front of you, well, where do you want to go? What do you want to experience? What is the truth you know about yourself? And so I start digging in and digging down. A lot of times I find that fear is behind so many stuck, I'm not going to say stuck people, but stuck ideas, because we're afraid to unknow what we're used to. It's kind of like a rut. We're stuck in it. And to step over is scary. And so I like to be that tour guide, that Sherpa, to help people step over into that unknown, that play, allow them to dream again, allow them to be free to say, you know what, I can let that go. I can let that go. That's not the truth of me.
So I probably won't get it right, but Mark Twain said, it's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you absolutely positively know that just ain't so.
Exactly. Yeah. And I teach people to question what they believe, because
exactly.
a lot of what we believe was given to us and we adopted those thoughts. And, we can change our minds 17 times a day and understand that, wait, why do I believe that? I'm a questioning person, and I can change my mind 7 times a day because I'm constantly inquiring. Well, why do I believe that? Where did that come from? Do I know that to be true? And, kind of like the work from Byron Katie. Well, where would I be without that? Where would I be without that? So,
what's
yeah,
the gift?
Yes, exactly.
What's the gift in that event? That has been my saving thing, is to say, all right, the story of the little boy who cussed all the time.
Yeah.
And Christmas morning, his parents wake up and they expect, sad and crying, and instead they hear whistling, and they creep down the stairs, and there's little Johnny with a shovel, and he's shoveling horse poop out the front door. And his parents say, Johnny, what are you doing? And he said, well, with this much poop in here, there's got to be a pony someplace.
Got to be a pony. There's got to be a pony.
And, I try to know, to remember that the bigger the pile of poop, the bigger the pony.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I had a really big pile like a few years back, and I really lost all my faith. I lost my faith in this teaching. I thought, well, this just doesn't work, because if this happened, then it doesn't work. But what I realized through that whole process is that it was working based on my beliefs. It brought to me exactly what I believed. And so the real work started with me unraveling and letting go. And well, what is it? Because I'm the common denominator in all those situations. Yep. Which felt very familiar. And so I had to unravel my thinking. I had to go deep and say, well, why do you keep attracting this kind of situation into your life? Well, because you feel like you're not enough. That was the core. I had a core statement. I'm not enough. No matter what I do, it's never going to be good enough. I'm not enough for this, that, or the other thing. And so I had to go below that and get to the truth. And so it was really powerful. It's really powerful. So out of tragedy can come some of the most powerful, insightful steps in your conscious evolution, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so
I love that face.
Well, I want to ask a question in a way that doesn't sound snarky or nosy, but is nosy. So I'm thinking that you really are going to write that memoir, and that it really is going to be a teaching tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, see, there are things that if I was going to write that memoir and do it right, then I would have to tell about some things that would kind of embarrass me.
Right.
And how do you do that? Because I know you do.
Yeah. And because I've been in the recovery world for a very long time now, you live in honesty, you speak a truth, and sometimes it doesn't feel good. here's what I know is that, and they say this in the rooms, you're only as sick as your secrets. And so how powerful is it to just completely be vulnerable and say, okay, look, this happened, but this doesn't define me. Yes, I had these actions, but this does not define me. It does not pinhole me in this unless that's the belief that I can choose to carry around about myself. And so it's about the elevation of self-awareness. And so how do I do that? Well, when I pushed go to send my paper to Emerson Institute, my hand was shaking. And after I sent it and it was already gone, I thought, was this a big mistake? Oh my gosh, how can I take that back? Did I do it? And the love that I received, I mean, it really brought tears to my eyes. And I felt like seen. And so that's, I think, people that have done things that they're ashamed of, shame keeps us from being as beautiful as we are, and shame has no place. I don't think shame has any place in our conversation about who we are. And so, but it's also a challenge. I have to pray about it every time. And there's some stuff I don't necessarily want to write about, maybe while my mom's still on this planet. And so because I don't want to hurt her. Right. So, it's about being conscious. It's about, do I really want to share this piece or can I leave it out? So, yeah, powerful stuff.
And so, digging a little bit deeper in that particular hole, how do you, because having done it yourself teaches you that it can be done.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily teach you how to teach somebody else how to do it. So how do you get other people, the people who come to you for guidance and for support and for counseling, how do you get them to understand, first of all, that what happened to them doesn't define who they are,
Mm-hmm.
that they are the only ones who define who they are,
Mm-hmm.
and second, that embarrassment is temporary and growth is not. How do you do that?
Well, I really like to develop a pretty intimate personal relationship with the people that I work with. I've been working with this one guy now for about 4 years. And he came to me and said, I just no longer want to live this way. You've been my teacher for a long time when he used to come to the center, and he said, I really want to be the person I envision in my mind. And I said, okay, so are you really ready to do some deep work? And he said yes. And he's done this just like we all do, back and forth, back and forth. And he's the longest person I've worked with. And then there's other people who just come in and they're like, okay, I'm ready. What do I got to do? There's other people who are resistant. And I think it's about an intimate relationship, and intimacy is intimacy. And it's about seeing what's blocking them. And that a lot of times is fear. And it's, they don't feel worthy. And I'm here to give them all that unconditional love. And so each person, I think, is different. Each person is different. And it's about me being insightful, being compassionate, being loving, being a little tough sometimes, and I don't like to live in the story for too long, not the victim story. It's like, tell me your story, go ahead. And then tell me what you want to do with that. And so that's kind of where we start.
Okay. So what I verify my learning by teaching it back. So what I'm hearing you say, which drove my instructors crazy when I was in school.
I love it.
What I'm hearing you say is that when someone comes to you, you ask them what their situation is. Mm-hmm. And when they've told you everything they need to tell you about their situation, then you ask them what the so what is. So what do you want to do about it?
Yep. Yeah. And I like to dig because, people say, well, I'm afraid. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that. What are you afraid of? Well, then they say that. And I'm like, okay, well, what if that happens? Okay. So, but then what if that happens? So what are you afraid of if that happens? And it's like you go down this staircase into the subconscious mind. And a lot of times, we realize that our greatest fear is that we're never going to be good enough. I find that to be really true. And the truth about all humans that I have found is that everyone wants to be loved. They want to be understood. They want to be seen. And they want compassion and understanding.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to start asking you those questions I ask everybody. The first one is there anything that you want to talk about, that you want the people who are watching this show to know about you that I haven't asked you about?
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a project that I'm very excited about. And I'm an artist, and I have not really been in my art for a while. I had a scholarship to an art school when I was younger, and I really thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to do illustration, and I was really passionate about that. Well, it's come back around. We have a special needs dog who has seizures. He's this big, huge monster dog. He's a Aussie Doodle, and he started having these seizures. And I found through that whole process that there's a lot that I didn't know about taking care of a special needs dog. And so I thought, well, if I don't know, there's other people that don't. So we thought, let's do a website called Sid's Friends. And it's named Sydney. And so what that has kind of done is it's expanded. And I had this vision of these metaphysical kids books based on Sid's friends. And all of Sid's friends are animals and children and everybody that you can think of. And I want to illustrate it. And I want to have metaphysical messages about being different. And when we're different, it's not bad. So there's going to be all these stories, and I am really excited about it. It feels really good. Oh, and we had a bird, a little titmouse. He was so cute. And he'd come up to the window on our little bird feeder, and we found he had a bad foot. And so we named him Petey. And so Petey comes up all the time, and he would get his food, and he would hang on, his little foot would be dangling. And I thought, this bird is tenacious. And so I had this new little birdhouse I got in the backyard, and it looks like a travel trailer. And I thought, that's where Petey lives. And so I came up with this whole story line around Petey and all the birds that we feed, and the squirrels and the bunnies. And I thought and it just keeps expanding. So I'm really excited about it. I can see many, many children's books.
And two things popped to my mind immediately because connections happen. One of them is, do you remember the gentleman who got the Heart of Emerson Award at conference?
Yes, I love him.
Matty Giuliano.
Yes.
You need to be connected to Matty Giuliano. I'll give you his contact information too, because that's what he does. But his is about a ferret named
What's her name?
Muskie, a ferret named Muskie.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah. And he has a stuffed animal that goes with it and everything. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that different is another way to say unique.
Yep.
And unique has a totally another feeling.
Yes.
From different.
Exactly. I remember when I was a child, because I've always been, I guess, on the edge of curiosity and different. And what I mean by that is that I didn't fit in with the other kids. I was always questioning in a different realm. And I remember one time that somebody called me strange. And so for the longest time, I associated that strange was wrong. And so I started recently looking up definitions to words that I have triggers around. And I found, well, strange is good. Strange is it's strange. I have characteristics that are not typical for other people. So that makes me interesting. And I love that. I did a talk one time in a mental health platform. It was called We Are Divergence. And that because we are different, we're divergence, and that's okay. And it makes us unique. I love that word, unique. And also, I'm not going to say special, but uniquely, what do they say? Neurotypical. I don't even like that. But we don't think the same way other people think.
Well, yeah. And thank God.
Mm-hmm.
I something else I was going to tell you that I forgot is that 30 years ago, I had a little miniature Yorkie who had a seizure disorder.
Oh, yeah.
So I became a Reiki master in order to be able to help him.
Yes. I'm a Reiki master too. Yeah.
Reiki's not just for people. Reiki's, I mean, I've used it on washing machines and automobiles and lawnmowers.
Animals are especially
energy.
receptive to it. They're very children too.
Very. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so here's the next one. Here's the big heavy four.
Okay.
How does what you do? How does life in balance? How does spiritual pop-ups? How does personal mentoring and counseling? How does all of that engender, encourage, support? Pick your own verb. Conscious evolution.
It is. All of these things that I do are based on my personal journey. These are things that I struggled with, and I have a really strong belief. Sorry, I have a really strong belief that if I went through it, I know somebody else has gone through this. And so these are the tools that I have in my toolbox that help me to dissect the way I feel, the way I think. And because, and I'll just say this out here, that so 5 years ago, I had a massive depressive episode that completely stalled my life in every way. And to come back, I had to really, really learn to understand what I felt, to understand what I think. Why do I think that? To understand that there is metaphysical principles, that to really start looking at the metaphysical principles in a brand new way. And so all these things have helped me to raise my consciousness. What's interesting is that because of that episode, I think I'm a better minister today than I ever was before that. During that period, I could not even imagine what my future would look like based on where I was standing at that moment. But to come through that and do all the questioning and do the deep work, it raised my consciousness to a whole new level of, I guess, I don't even know if there's a word for it. I just see things clearer. I see things clearer, and I'm more at peace. And so to me, that is an evolution, to know thyself and to really have an intimate relationship with yourself and to have an authentic relationship with yourself. So for me, that is conscious evolution. I spent a lot of years in hiding, and a lot of years hiding the truth of who I am, and that I had struggles. And who doesn't, right? I had this feeling that I would not be accepted or loved if people really knew what I struggled with in my mind, my soul, my heart, all those things. And it brings us closer together when we can be authentic about who we are and what we're experiencing. Did I answer your question?
Oh, yes, you sure did. Okay, here's the next one. Same style of question, but not quite the same question. How does what you do, life in balance, personal mentoring, pop-ups and all of that, how does that engender, encourage, unveil, support, pick your own verb, world peace?
Ooh, honey. Well, I truly believe that when we can be compassionate with ourselves, we can be compassionate with the world around us. And that judgment and separation is one of the key components to what's going on in this world. And I think if everybody just was able to see themselves as a divine representation, how could there be competition? There couldn't be, we couldn't look at another human being and not see their magnificence. And if we could see that in every living soul on this planet, gosh, could you imagine? And so I just think when we know ourselves, we show up in the world differently. When we heal our stuff, we show up in the world differently. And through the forgiveness work I've done, I show up in the world differently. And when we lead with that energy of love, acceptance, and not only that, but curiosity. So when we see something we don't understand, how about we ask some questions? If there's somebody that is from a different culture, and that I've been taught maybe in my mind to be a little afraid of that because of preconceived ideas that maybe come through, maybe even the media. Well, it's my job to ask questions. And so I think that's as a race, that would be what I would like to see through
the species, all of us, every single one.
Yes.
Okay, I like it. I'll have an order of that, please. Okay, next question. Okay, here's the fun one. 10 years from now, presuming that every single detail, every teeny tiny little relationship, event, occurrence, happenstance, everything goes exactly the way you want it to go. What does life in balance look like then?
I think life in balance for me, let me just tell you what life in balance means. Life in balance to me is that I realized that the energy that I was giving emotionally, spiritually, and consciously to my life was not in balance. And I was putting things before me that were not actually important to my journey, my mission, my vision. And where was I seeping my time? Where was I seeping out my consciousness? Where were things leaking out? Where was the hose? Where was it cranked? Where was all that? So life in balance to me is that I'm going to start right here. I have them all over my thing. And so if we were to take five points of power, this is your North Star. What are the 5 most important things in your life that will make your life utopia, to live in that place of conscious co-creation? Well, so what are you giving your time, your energy, and your thought to? Well, if it's not one of these, and one of these is getting left out, well, then it's time to refocus. It's time to really recenter yourself and put it in balance. And think about a tire. When it's out of balance, it's like going down the road. Well, we have that experience too. And so to keep ourselves in balance, we have to, I have to constantly evaluate, is that still important to me? And sometimes it changes. So utopia, everyone gets along and sings Kumbaya, and we all hang out in hammocks. That would be so good.
I could go with that. Okay, last question. Will you come back?
Yes, I will.
Okay, the next opening I have is September 17th.
Of 2024?
24.
You are so popular.
No, I'm just determined.
September 24th. I'm there.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I already have you down for July 9th. I just looked up and saw that.
July 9th. And I'm also your
and you're on my pinch hitter list too.
Yes, I'm on your stand-in list. So July 29th?
Nope, July 9th.
I heard a 9 in there somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, July 9th. I've got you. You're already there, ready to go. And of course, I will send you a reminder when it's much closer.
This is awesome.
Thank you so much for coming. And hold on, let me just check right quick who our next, I know who it is, but I can't think of it. So I'm going to look it up, who our next week person is. Because I like to tell people in advance so they know who they're looking forward to.
Exactly. Because I want to promote.
Oh, it's Reverend Christina Jones, Divine Feminine Evolution. She's going to be here next week. So y'all don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss any of them because, as you've observed today, we have a great time on this show.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you're doing too. You bring a lot to this world, your energy, and I've been very inspired from the behind the scenes conversation I had with you, and I look forward to a further journey of let's see, knowing you better. She also does signing. She signs songs. She's amazing. Amazing.
Only one. Well, 2. I signed 2 songs. Amazing. And I'm free. I am unlimited. That one.
You're amazing.
So we'll see you next week. Don't miss us.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Home Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things.